In the last few sections, we have created a few APIs, and they appear to be working when tested in isolation. Okay, and the next thing we want to do is we want to come back to our continuous integration and deployment mode. And what that means is we have to essentially check in our source code into a new repository on GitHub. Okay, so let's head over to the GitHub. This is my GitHub repository for FE, the front-end Indie Cafe project. And what we want to do now is essentially create a new repository and go to the topmost right corner and click on the plus icon here and then the new repository. Okay, and that should provide us a new dialog and ask us to essentially choose a name here. I'm going to say API_Indie Cafe. All right, so this is going to be the repository name, and I'm going to make it private, and eventually now, once the things become stable, I can go ahead and make them public for, to share with other people and the rest of the community. Okay, and I also want to make sure I add a git ignore, and I'm going to choose git ignore that's specific to Node. Okay, go ahead and do this, and this will set a okay, fine. So I'm going to go ahead and create a repository here. All right, so we've already created a GitHub repository here. And the next thing we want to do is go back to our command line and essentially copy this git URL, okay, and do a couple of things here. Okay, let me go head over to the command line. All right, super. So in here, I don't think we have initialized git in any way, shape, or form, because earlier when we created the front-end repository using create React app, it was automatically git aware. If you recall what I'm saying. So in here, if I do a git status right now, it doesn't say it is not a git repository, which essentially we have to initialize this as a git repository. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to say git init. Okay, and this is going to essentially create this .git folder. Now it should be recognized as a git repository. Okay, so I'm going to say git status one more time. And we have all these files present on the branch master. Okay, next let me go ahead and set my git remote. Right now git remote is not set. Let's say I say git remote -v. It doesn't give anything. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to say git remote add origin. Alright, and the git URL name. Okay, and this is what we decided was going to be the URL, right? After we created the repository. Press enter. Okay, and then if I do a git remote -v, it should give me those origin URLs. Okay, super. And first thing we want to do is you want to say git pull origin master, because essentially what happened was we created that .git ignore file, and we want to essentially pull that before we start checking in or pushing our changes onto the GitHub repo. So let me do this. I don't think we have a .git ignore here yet. No, we don't. Okay, so let's go ahead and pull that. Git pull origin master. It's going to essentially ask me for my username and password. Eventually we're going to make sure that we're going to store this user ID and password in a config file, so it doesn't have to ask it every time. One last time, I'm going to say I'm going to key my user ID and credentials. Right, this should make its way up now. We can check that as well. Yes, it has made its way up. Okay, actually we made a pull, right? So essentially we should get a new git ignore file here. Yeah, there we go. Super. And the next thing I want to do is I'm going to say git add. And if you look at the git ignore, it actually essentially whitelists, or rather blacklists, some of the files that will not essentially get checked in. So let's get in here and take a look at it. So all these things that are generated are temporary in nature will not be essentially checked in. Okay, I would expect the .env file also to be here. Let me check that. Control F. .env. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, all these files are not going to be essentially checked in. Okay, super. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to say git add dot Okay, and I'm going to say git commit -n, and the message name, which is going to be, let's say, catalog APIs initial version. Okay, let's go ahead and click enter. And after this, we have to essentially push our changes to the remote repository. Okay, so I'm going to say git push origin master. This is again going to ask me for user ID and password. So this should make its way up now. Super. I think, yeah, it's essentially gone to our GitHub repo. Let me quickly take a look and find out. Alright, there we go. Now we have this initial version, okay? Yeah, this is gone directly into the master. Subsequently, we have to make the changes here and take a feature branch and then merge the changes to master. And this is one time where you're directly checked into master. Alright, and so with this in place, the next thing that we want to do is look at the deployment aspect of it. So as we mentioned before, this is going to be deployed in Heroku. Alright, look at this diagram. This is going to be in Heroku. So let's see, if we can go ahead and deploy this stuff in here. So I'll head over to Heroku here, and essentially this is my login in case you've not signed up. There is an easy way to sign up here. Let's head over to Heroku. Yeah, and you can also sign up here using your email ID and password. Okay, and I think yeah, it's pretty straightforward and to create an account here. All right, super. So what else can we do here? So I've already signed up, so I don't have to essentially go ahead and do this, right? And what I'm going to do is, maybe we can also go ahead and sign up here, right? Oh, you know what? It's actually quite easy. All you have to do is key in your details here: email address, company name. Some of it is optional, some of it is mandatory, like a role and the country and the selected language. And essentially, it should set your role in here. Okay. So what I'm going to do instead here is I'm going to go ahead and log in here. First thing, and I have a account set up already. Okay, and what I'm going to do is go ahead and log in here. My account is also set up with a authenticator, multi-factor authentication, so it might ask me for an ID here right now from the authenticator. Again, it's all adaptive authentication. Yeah, I do get it here. So every time I have to log in, I have to give the authenticator ID, and I've used Google Authenticator to set this up. And you could also take a look at that. Okay, so let me go ahead and key in this ID. Alright, so that should verify my code. Alright, it's expired. That's let me in now. Next, what we're gonna do is essentially set up our project in here. I will go, there is only one project that's set up for my experimental purposes. I did that something I did a few days ago. I'm gonna say click on new, and then say create new app, and I'm going to say app name is going to be API underscore indie cafe, and yeah, I'm going to choose United States and just say create app. I'll not choose the add to pipeline option for now. This is something advanced, and you might not need it in the immediate future. Okay, super. So what it allows us to do is it allows us to connect to Heroku in two ways. One is by using the Heroku CLI. Heroku CLI, as they have mentioned here. Okay, and so essentially you have to install this Heroku CLI and then do a Heroku login, do a push from your desktop. Okay, and if you have a repository already on the GitHub, you can also connect to GitHub, and that's what I'm going to choose here. Okay, so let's say connect to GitHub, and it should allow us to connect to my repository straight away here. Okay, based on my email ID. Okay, and I'll just say look for FE underscore, it's not FE, it's API underscore indie cafe, I think. Indie cafe, yeah. Let's go and search. Yeah, there we go. So what I'm going to do, so it's listed the repository here. I'm going to say go ahead and connect. So it's doing something in the background, and it says enable automatic deploys. I don't want to do that right now because essentially I will do that after a point. So it's essentially right now saying that we can go ahead and deploy this branch right now. But before we can do so, we need to do a couple of things. If you recall, we had an env file here, which was essentially doing a few settings here for us in terms of the database, the prefix, and stuff like that. Let me open that quickly. Okay, it was right here. So if you look at the .env, we need to essentially copy these files onto not the file, the settings, right? So essentially the port, database, and the prefix. Okay, so how do we go about that? So let's check if we have any options to do that here. So we already connected the repository, and let's see if I go back to the settings here. So let's head over to this section of the config vars, and it says reveal config vars, and right now we don't have anything set up. Okay, so we can essentially set them up as key and value pairs here. I think we have a couple of them here. One is database. Okay, and I'll add the value there somewhere, but yeah, I'll go back and add it. But first thing is I'm going to capture variables, add here, and we also have something called prefix. Okay, and let me go over to my code base and just copy some of these settings. Okay, the port is 7787 and the database entry will be something like this. I understand this is actually going to set our password here in plain text. That's something that we need to look at in terms of how we can take care of that. But that's what it is right now. So yeah, we'll eventually have to figure that out. Alright, so and then coming over to the port 7787, I think that's what we set up here. And let's take one more confirmation. Yeah, 7787, and this is /API. Okay, alright, 7787. Go ahead and save the changes, and this is gonna be /API. So we have all this stuff configured right now, and we have all the configurations available, and we should be able to go ahead and deploy our project here. Head over to deploy, and in here I have not enabled auto deploy because every time there is a merge to our master branch, essentially that's going to enable deployment. I'm not going to enable that for now. In the future I will definitely go ahead and do that. And for now, I'm just going to go ahead and deploy the branch manually. Let's see what happens. Alright, I got a confirmation that it's successfully deployed on Heroku. So if I go here and look at any of the logs, let's see what it says. Right now, it says an application error. Right now, check Heroku for. Let's look at the logs. Let's take a pause here. I'll come back and resolve this in a short while from now. And because this is going to have a little bit of explanation in terms of what went wrong and what fixes we had in place. So we'll take a brief pause, come back and continue.